රිවයින් කරන්න පුළුවන් නිසා මුකුත් මගේ වෙන්නේ.
POTV TV බලන හොඳම විදිහ.
Good evening. Tonight, finally a word in. Parliamentarians questioned Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe over the much talked about Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement in Parliament. Naming names. Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Rajitha Senaratne reveals the people behind the much talked about 100-day program. Slash the money. PAFREL highlights the necessity of having a proper legal framework with limitations on election campaign financing.
We wish to humbly request from all the parliamentarians, all the political party leaders, especially the Prime Minister and the President, to bring some legal framework for this campaign finance limitations.
Sri Lanka trending. Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Authority announces foreign tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka from January to May shows an increase of 14.7% compared to last year.
2018, we are expecting about 2.5 million tourist arrival. We are confident that we will be able to reach this target in the year.
And in international headlines, carnage in South America. Guatemala's FUEGO volcano explodes again yesterday, and the death toll from the weekend's eruption rose to at least 75. It's 9 o'clock on the dot. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7, Sri Lanka's news channel. Hello everyone, I'm Mahesh Johnny. We begin tonight at the Parliament where the Singapore Free Trade Agreement was at the centre of attention. The Free Trade Agreement between Sri Lanka and Singapore was a hot topic in Parliament today, with member of the joint opposition parliamentarian Bandula Gunawardena levelling various allegations as to how the agreement came about. Meanwhile, the whereabouts of former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran also came up during today's sitting.
Sri Lanka, Singapore,
Will the Prime Minister nullify the Singapore-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement as well as EDCA and open a national dialogue on the matters, as many unfavourable clauses have been included in the Singapore-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement without the knowledge of the Parliament, misleading the Cabinet? It is essential since the Secretary to the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade, Chandani Wijewardena, has taken arbitrary powers upon herself and has instructed the Director General of Sri Lanka Customs to implement the EDCA. As per law, no official, including the ministry's secretary, has given any official instruction to the Director General of the Customs. We will inquire from all of them if there are any issues. There was no open dialogue regarding these agreements with other entities of the society, and that is why we see doctors carrying out token strikes against them. They are all shouting now, saying Chinese workers are going to come to the country from Singapore and so on. Chinese and Bangladeshi workers came to Sri Lanka during former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's tenure. We never brought in any foreign labourers when carrying out the Mahaweli project or work at any other trade zones. Right now, we are merely continuing what you started. Are you saying that the Chinese from China itself are better than those from Singapore? Do you want their hair to be shorter or longer? The World Trade Organization clearly states that public consensus must be sought before signing this sort of an agreement, and that there should be independence and so on. But we don't see any such action being taken here. This is a betrayal.
කිව්වද ශැංග්‍රීලා එක විකුණන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපිට කිව්වද සින්නක් කරවපු දැන් ඔබතුමාලා අලුත් ප්‍රතිපත්තිය ශැංග්‍රීලා වල කිව්වා විපත් මගේද කිව්වනේ දැන් ඔහොම කතා කරොත් ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ ඔබතුමාට ඇමතිකමක්වත් දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Meanwhile, leader of the JVP, Anurakumara Disanayaka, inquired about the developments on taking legal action against former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran. You took action to freeze the assets of former ambassadors Udayanga Veeratunga and Jaliya Wickremesuriya. But you haven't taken any legal action against the former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran yet. You had such a close relationship with him because he used to tell you when he was going for wedding ceremonies. Without hiding behind red notices and such, you have the responsibility to ask him to come here.
Arjuna
Mahendran used to always inform me whenever he left the country. The current central bank governor adopts the same practice. However, he never told me anything once his tenure was over. We weren't in contact with each other when he was going for the proceedings of the commission. I know that he used to always change houses in Singapore. I wouldn't know if that is the way in Singapore. I never knew the Angaviratunga. I have met Jalia though, but I have never kept in contact with them once their tenures were over. All of you would say that I am supporting these people.
Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne today revealed the persons involved in forming the 100-day program, which came under the spotlight recently following a statement made by President Maithripala Sirisena. The minister said that Venerable Athurali Ratanathera, Minister Partali Champika Ranamaka and civil organisations along with himself were involved in the committee which formed the program. The minister's view came during the cabinet media briefing held in Colombo today.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයත් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් අතර තියෙන්නේ එකඟතාවය අනුව නියෝජක කතානායක ධූරය හිමි වෙන්න ඕනේ නිදහස් පක්ෂයට නේද? ඒ එකඟතාවය උඩ ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය.
The name of parliamentarian Angajan came up in line with that agreement. The Tamil National Alliance opposed it. We can't have issues with the party for no reason. Therefore, the SLFP withdrew the suggestion. Accordingly, the president said, we don't have a candidate and asked to appoint one from the UNP. After Ananda Kumarasiri from the UNP was nominated, the president again suggested the name of Mrs. Fernandopulle. The Prime Minister said that they decided on it during the group meeting and it was difficult to change it at that moment. The president agreed to it and withdrew the suggestion. You didn't ask as to how the unity of the so-called joint opposition was lost. Some made comments saying that they won't vote for her. Everyone left before the vote and there was no Rajapakshas there either. The 100-day program was created by a group including us. The president wasn't involved in making it. He should have said that the program was an issue. We had only 1 month amid chaos to create it. We were also stuck with the main campaign. The committee to create the program convened from 5 to 7 in the morning, which included myself, Minister Champika Ranamaka, Venerable Ratanathera and representatives of civil societies. What the president said was correct about UNP having only 42 members to form a government and how 42 members could pass a budget. There, the decision was taken to get together with the SLFP for the 100-day program. But had the government been dissolved, as the president says, we could have won the election with around 150 seats because Mahinda Rajapaksa wasn't involved much in politics then and Basil Rajapaksa went abroad.
Basil Rajapaksa රට ගියා. පුතුමන්ලා ජනාධිපතිතුමා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ අගමැතිතුමා සාකච්ඡාවක් කරේ නැද්ද මේ දින 100 වැඩ පටන් ගන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා? ඒක ඇත්තටම
The president had given the responsibility to the Prime Minister to oversee those things.
තීන්දුව ගන්න කියලා.
Newly appointed General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa, highlights the need to unite all divided factions of the SLFP. He made the remark in response to journalists following a visit to the Vidyalankara Pirivena in Paliagudi yesterday, adding that a new national campaign must be introduced under the SLFP once all are united.
Upon receiving his appointment as the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa visited members of the Buddhist clergy at the Vidyalankara Pirivena in Paliagudi yesterday. He then expressed views to media. We must establish a progressive and leftist SLFP government in 2020.
හිටපු ජනාධිපති මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහතා නැතුව ඔබතුමාලා හිතනවාද පක්ෂ කොට ගන්න පුළුවන්? කවුරුවත් නැතුව.
A new national campaign under the SLFP must be established by uniting all the divided parties.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය යටතේ ගොඩ ගන්න ඕනි.
This morning, Professor Piyadasa visited Chief Prelate of the Malwatta chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangalathera. Later, he called on the Chief Prelate of the Askiri chapter, Most Venerable Warakagode Sri Jnana Ratanathera.
In other local stories we have for you tonight, People's Action for Free and Fair Elections calls for the implementation of a proper legal framework to address issues related to campaign finance regulations. Executive Director of PAFRA, Rohan Hettiarachchi, made these remarks to First at 9 today, highlighting current allegations levelled against parliamentarians for obliging to financial assistance from Perpetual Treasuries Limited.
At the moment, there is a big debate started in publicly with related to the campaign finance regulations. We have noticed the number of MPs, the number of political leaders has taken some money from the perpetual treasuries. The biggest issue here is those politicians, whether they have support for this, the private business people to get the profit out of their support. We need to investigate whether these parliamentarians are support for that. We wish to humbly request from all the parliamentarians, all the political party leaders, especially the Prime Minister and the President, to bring some legal framework for this campaign finance limitations. We have already drafted this campaign finance legal framework for the assistance to the Parliament. We have already submitted His Excellency the President and also all the parliamentarians we have circulated. So we humbly request to take this serious and make it as a law before the next provincial elections.
Telecommunications Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka today issued a statement clarifying reasons behind the raid of the TNL Media Network's transmission centre in Polgahawila and the confiscation of its equipment. It says that Telstra Networks Private Limited has not obtained due licenses to run its television transmitter at Polgahawila and has also ignored the reminders over the matter.
Officials of the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka and the Criminal Investigation Department raided the Telstra network-owned transmission station in Polgahawila and confiscated all transmission equipment last evening. According to the TRCSL, the network had not obtained a license from the TRCSL for transmission from Polgahawila. Meanwhile, Director of TNL, Ishini Vikramasinghe, yesterday told Derana that the channel will be taking legal action in the near future. The incident also became a topic of discussion in Parliament yesterday. There should be a proper basis in which this shutdown should have taken place, but we do not see one. Speaker, when we talk about media freedom, we may find it satisfactory that a channel owned by the brother of the Prime Minister is shut down. However, we find the action taken by them wrong. I heard this unfortunate incident while I was seated here, which was about an hour ago. I tried contacting the head of TRC for a report, but I failed to get through. We will see what has taken place and ensure we inform Parliament. Meanwhile, the issue was also raised at today's weekly Cabinet media briefing held at the Government Information Department. My view is that it should be allowed to resume service soon. The Director General of TRC said that he will send a statement over the issue today. Whatever the reason may be behind this, they should be given connection. The Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, meanwhile, issued a statement to media today to clarify the reasons behind their move to raid the transmission centre owned by TNL in Polgahawila. It said that Telstra Network Private Limited has not obtained a valid licence for television transmission from Polgahawila and the company has violated the Section 22 of Sri Lanka Telecommunication Act No. 25 of 1991. The statement further said that the TRCSL in April of 2016 informed the network to shut down its illegal transmission, but the company ignored the notice and continued transmission.
The post-mortem examination into the death of veteran television presenter Hemanalin Karunaratne revealed today that his death was caused owing to a ruptured blood vessel in his brain. Popular TV personality Hemanalin Karunaratne was found dead in his residence in Malambe yesterday morning. He was 55 years of age at the time of his demise. A date for final rites of the late television personality is yet to be decided. Let's take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back on to Business News. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry appointed to probe the management of Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering and Mihin Lanka today ordered the Department of Registrar of Companies to produce a list of annual capital share values of the three entities from 2006 to January 2018 within 2 weeks. A representative of the Registrar General testified before the Presidential Commission on behalf of him today.
The Presidential Commission appointed to investigate financial irregularities of the national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering Private Limited and Mihin Lanka commenced its proceedings this morning, and representatives of the Department of Registrar of Companies Indika Gunawardena testified before the Commission. He produced documentation pertaining to registration and changing the nature of registration of the three entities to the Commission. The Commission ordered the Department of Registrar of Companies to produce a list of annual capital share values of Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering and Mihin Lanka from 2006 to January of 2018 within 2 weeks. In the meantime, the Commission had issued notice for the Registrar General to testify before the Commission today. However, since the process of hearing evidence from the Registrar General was not concluded the day before yesterday, the Chairman of the Commission, former Supreme Court Justice Anil Gunaratne, stated that the proceedings of the Commission will be postponed until tomorrow morning.
Sri Lankan Tourism Development Authority predicts 2.5 million tourist arrivals by the end of this year. Now, this is in a backdrop where the total number of foreign tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka during the first 5 months of the year has risen over 14% compared to the same period last year. The latest data reveals that while 129,466 tourists have arrived in Sri Lanka during the month of May this year, this is a 6.2% growth when compared against the 1,891 tourist arrivals during May of 2017.
Asia and Pacific regions account for the highest number of tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka, which is 65% of the total arrivals during the first 5 months of this year, followed by Europe and the United States of America, which amounts to 27% and 6% respectively. Speaking to First at 9, the Director General of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, Upali Ratnayaka, revealed future plans to expand tourist arrivals.
2018, we are expecting about 2.5 million tourist arrival. We are confident that we will be able to reach this target in the year. We also take initiative to introduce lesser known attraction in the country, and also the working with the provincial council and keeping the tourists for a longer period. Our expectations, particularly the market like China, India, Australia, Japan, even country like Thailand, South Korea are our future market.
He also went on to elaborate on the impact of the depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee against the US dollar on the tourism industry.
Nowadays, the devaluation of Sri Lankan rupee against the dollar is affecting in the economy. Actually, tourism is an industry which can give a supportive role to this development. As a foreign exchange earning industry, it will give a positive impact to the Sri Lankan economy with the development of tourism, or attracting more tourists and bringing more tourism.
Let's take you to the stock market now. Shares ended slightly weaker today, hovering near the lowest close in over 5 months hit earlier in the week, and the all-share price index closed 0.15% weaker at 6,399.91. Now here is Imesha Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange with a detailed report.
The turnover was 510.1 million rupees with 12.4 million shares changed in hands in 3,305 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,988.71 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 237.56 million rupees and foreign sales were 49.19 million rupees.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Let's move on to international news now. Guatemala's FUEGO volcano exploded once more yesterday, sending rescue workers scrambling for cover beneath the smoking peak as the death toll from the weekend's eruption rose at least to 75. The country's National Disaster Agency ordered evacuations and said that the hot gas and molten rock were steaming from the volcano, which produced its biggest eruption in more than 4 decades on Sunday, showering ash on a wide area and sending lava flows through nearby towns. Approximately 200 people are still missing from the eruption.
On Sunday, people living in the vicinity of Guatemala's FUEGO volcano were brought face to face with a brutal reality as the volcano erupted. It sent columns of ash and smoke 10 kilometers into the sky, dusting several regions with ash. More than 3,200 people have been evacuated, but some couldn't get out in time. At least 75 people have lost their lives so far, with close to 200 people are unaccounted for. Authorities fear that the death toll could rise further, as it did over the last several days. Rescue operations were disrupted yesterday when a new eruption sent hot gas and molten rock streaming down the volcano's south side. Volcán de Fuego, which means volcano of fire in Spanish, is one of several active volcanoes among 34 in the Central American country. A video shared to the Guatemalan National Civil Police Twitter page shows officers rescuing a baby girl from inside a house located in the area affected by the eruptions. Rescue workers were in the town of San Miguel de los Lotes yesterday to search for survivors and recover the bodies of victims. The National Disaster Agency meanwhile says rains are expected to continue to complicate searches in the coming days.
Now, the puzzle which the summit between US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has been so far had another piece put in place by the White House yesterday. Now, it announced that Singaporean southern island of Sentosa will play host to the next week's historic meeting. White House spokeswoman Sarah Huckabee Sanders said in a Twitter post that the venue would be the Capella Hotel on the island. Analysts say holding the meeting at Sentosa would make it easier for security as the island can be sealed off. Now with that, here's a look at other emerging stories from across the world.
Mexico put tariffs on American products ranging from steel to pork and bourbon yesterday in retaliation of import duties on metals imposed by President Donald Trump and taking aim at Republican strongholds ahead of US congressional elections in November. Mexico's response further raises trade tensions between the two countries and adds a new complication to efforts to renegotiate the NAFTA trade deal between Canada, the United States and Mexico. American pork producers, for whom Mexico is the largest export market, were dismayed by the move. Palestinians are sending kites dangling coal embers or burning rags across the Gaza border to set fire to farmland and forests in a new tactic that sets a unique challenge to a powerful military that has used deadly force during Palestinian border protests. With at least 120 Palestinians killed by Israeli troops during mass demonstrations along the Gaza border since the 30th of March, the men sending the kites over the fence believe they have found an effective new weapon. Argentina has cancelled a World Cup warm-up match against Israel under political pressure over Israel's treatment of Palestinians in Gaza. The Palestine Football Association chief on Sunday called on fans to burn the shirt and picture of Argentina super striker Lionel Messi if he plays against Israel in Jerusalem at the weekend. China launched the new Fengyun 2H meteorological satellite yesterday to improve the accuracy of weather forecasting and provide better meteorological services to countries participating in the Belt and Road Initiative. China's meteorological satellites have played an important role in the Belt and Road region. For instance, the Fengyun 2E satellite captured an indication of heavy rainfall in Pakistan in August of 2017 and issued a timely warning to avoid casualties.
On to sports now, Sri Lanka's very own Johan Perez, who scaled the tallest mountain on the planet, Mount Everest, last month, says it takes more than what meets the eye to overcome challenges. Johan, who became the only second Sri Lankan to reach the top of Everest, elaborated on his experiences during his successful expedition as well as his failed summit attempt in 2016 during a media briefing held in Colombo today.
On the 22nd of May at 5:55 a.m. in Nepal time, Johan Perez became the second Sri Lankan ever to summit the tallest mountain on the planet, Mount Everest. He is only second to Jayanti Kurutumpala, who became the first Sri Lankan to summit the peak in 2016 in an expedition which Johan was a part of. During that summit attempt, with 400 meters from the peak, Johan had to make the difficult decision to turn back with the summit in sight. At a media briefing held in Colombo today, he expressed what it was like to progress from where he stopped 2 years ago.
I enjoyed every single step from there onwards. Not that I didn't find it hard, but I didn't find it hard in that sense, if you know what I mean. And finally, when I went and got to the top there, my Sherpa had to turn around and tell me, this is it, you are at the summit.
Johan also gave a mountaineer's insight into how the journey to the top of the world unfolded.
Actually, the whole climb happens in stages. It's a 2-month journey. I left Sri Lanka on the 4th. We actually started our climb from Lukla to base camp on the 7th of April. It's about a 2-week to 14 days because we have to climb another mountain on the way as well as part of the training. The balance 6 weeks, almost 5.5 to 6 weeks, it's actually challenging the main mountain itself. Yeah, there are 4 camps. It's not just a linear journey up the mountain. It's a process where you go up and come down because you acclimatize your body in the process. We were actually due to go on the 23rd, but at the last minute they changed it. They thought that there was a storm that was coming on the 23rd later on in the afternoon, but they didn't want to take a chance.
Being a man who learned from his failures, Johan Perez had this to say about perseverance.
We as Sri Lankans tend to give up when we have challenges come our way very easily. I remember even when we spoke at a university, one of the things they said was, it's about turning back and the failure that happened to me. He said that was very important to the students because of the number of suicides they have in the universities due to the pressure. So this, I think, is a good message to take out, to say that if we are persistent, we can really achieve our goals and dreams, even though we fail the first time.
Touching on their joint Everest expedition in 2016, Jayanti Kurutumpala gave her thoughts on Johan's decision to turn back with the summit in sight, as he did not have enough oxygen to complete the journey.
He is my hero because he turned back at that point. And I know, I understand this because I know how many people don't turn back. And as a result, their bodies remain on the top of Mount Everest or close to that area forever. And that's why there are about 200 dead bodies of people who don't turn back, who had too much ego and they continued but never came back. And with Johan, he had the courage to turn back.
A bit of cricket. The first match of Sri Lanka's tour of West Indies is currently underway at the port of Spain. West Indies have won the toss and chose to bat first under blue skies on a Queen's Park Oval track expected to be full of runs on the first 2 days. They're currently at 99 runs for the loss of 3 wickets. Now, with a batting track before them, Sri Lanka have opted to beef up their attack, fielding 5 specialist bowlers. Rangana Herath and Dilruwan Pereira are the spinners, while Suranga Lakma, Lahiru Gamage and Lahiru Kumara are the seam bowling options in the 11. Kusal Pereira will open the batting alongside Kusal Mendis in the absence of the injured Dimuthu Karunaratne.
That's an edge. Very well caught. And the Sri Lankans have struck first blood and quite early. Just a bit uppish, but he's going to get runs. Might be 4 of them. It is. Swing to the left-hander. That's a good looking.
Now here's Manusha with the weather.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Your temperatures are to vary between 21 to 32 degrees Celsius, with Batticaloa district expected to record the highest. Central hills, as usual, will stay much cooler. Moving on to our rain forecast, showers can be expected in the western, Sabaragamu, southern, central and northwestern provinces tomorrow. People living in Kalutara, Galle, Mathura districts in particular will have to endure some heavy rainfalls during the day. In contrast, Jaffna, Trincomalee and Batticaloa districts will be sunny, and as I mentioned earlier, Batticaloa is expected to be the warmest tomorrow. That's it from your weather center tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. First at 9 will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. And before we go, we like to leave you with what is considered to be the world's smallest cat. Now, this cat was spotted in the forest of Sri Lanka, which is one of the few areas where the rusty spotted cat have been known to live, and the International Union for Conservation of Nature considered the species to be near threatened because of the loss of its habitat. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.